Hey, what's up, good people? It's Jay Ray, the co host of Q Points, and I wanted to come to you because there are two really important ways that you can support our show. One is by subscribing to it wherever you listen to or watch your podcasts. Q Points is pretty much everywhere. The other thing that you can do is you can visit us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and on Podchaser, and you can leave us a star rating. Please rate us 5 stars because you know you love Q Points. And on Apple Podcasts and on Podchaser, you can actually leave us a written review. It's not required, but it really does help to spread the word about the show, and it helps people to discover it as they're looking for new podcasts to listen to. We're always appreciative of you supporting Q Points. We thank you so much for all that you've done for us so far, and enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome back to Q Points, your favorite podcast, dropping the needle on Black music history. I am DJ Sir Daniel.
What's happening, folks? My name is Jay Ray, also known by my government as Johnny Ray Cornegay III. What's happening, good people?
Jay Ray, I am in the middle. We are in the middle in Atlanta of what we like to call fake spring here in the state of Georgia. And I know it's fake spring because my allergies want to kick up a little bit. It got a little warm for a couple of days. I think the trees are being faked out, so the pollen is being spread a little early. But I am going to push through it. I know I'm going to feel good. We are out of Mercury retrograde.
You know,
So let's
I feel that. I feel
yes.
that because I feel like things have been moving smoother, and I'm like, things work the way they're supposed to work.
Mm-hmm.
Cause child, when that Mercury retrograde stuff was
It was
knucking
retrograding.
and bucking.
And doing all the things. But Jay Ray, let's welcome our guests, our viewers that are tuning in. Some for the first time, some who have been with us riding and dying from the get go, and we want to shout them out. But let's remind everybody how they can view and subscribe to Q Points.
Absolutely. So, everyone who is joining us, as we said at the beginning, it's really important that you keep up with us. So, there's a couple of ways that you can stay in touch. If you are really down and are like, listen, I want to support these brothers and all the things that they do, you can actually become a member of Q Points. We have members only content that you can only see if you are a paying member, because listen, being a paying member helps us to keep the Q Points lights on. Let's keep it real.
Hello,
And
somebody.
right. And it also gives us an opportunity to give y'all some really cool products and things of that nature. The other thing that you can do to support us is you can go ahead and shop in our Q Points store. We have some dope products that you can purchase from us. That is also another way that you can help us to keep the Q Points lights on. In addition to that, just tell your folks about the show. You can subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts. You can subscribe to us on Spotify, and you can leave us reviews and star ratings. So please do that as well. And also sign up for the newsletter. So if you sign up for the newsletter, that is an opportunity for you to get our show notes. I was supposed to drop the newsletter last week. It got away from me. It's coming back.
Hey,
The
it's
newsletter's
coming.
coming back. And we're going to do that. So I see that our brother Trey, who is an Insiders Max member, is in the chat with us. So Trey, thank you so much. Trey, you download that mix that DJ Sir Daniel did, that Ooh Shalala mix. If you did, drop it in the chat. Let the folks
Let us
know
know.
what's going on. So
Let them know what you thought of it.
you know what I mean? But yes, that's how you can stay up with Q Points.
And speaking of very wonderful reviews, we got a really sweet review from somebody who has been supporting us from the very beginning. Shout out to Drea, Drea's point of view. She really held us down on the reviews, and we thank you so much, Drea, for
Absolutely.
doing that.
Can I read this review? Because I did pull that up. Thank you so much. You see, Mr. Daniel, that's not even on our running show, but we very
We
appreciate it.
here. We here.
So Drea gave us a 5-star review on Podchaser and said, one of my favorite music podcasts. Often we know nothing about the history of what we listen to. These hosts make us smarter about the music we listen to while keeping it entertaining. I'm grateful for this podcast because it makes me want to be more informed about music. Great job. Thank you so much for that. Andrea's podcast is dope. It's a short form podcast, so you could get it in less than 10 minutes, and she is giving you information throughout each episode. So you could check
That's
her
right.
out. Drea's point of view. We appreciate the support and we want y'all to support Drea as well.
Absolutely. It looks like another one of our loyal listeners and viewers, Carlton, is in the building. Carlton's been working hard at the JOB. So that's why you may not have seen him in the chat, but he is still supporting us and watching us. So we want to shout out to Carlton in the building. But J Ray, okay. Before we get to the crux, the meat of the show, so much stuff has happened like within the past hour
Right.
before we started recording and got on. So I was watching the news, the local news here on WSB TV, and they had a breaking story regarding the Young Thug trial. Apparently, apparently, one of Young Thug's co-defendants during a break or something in the middle of this trial, this very high-profile trial where there are tons of cameras recording, photographers taking pictures, the courtroom is full. One of his co-defendants decides to go I almost called him Jeffrey, but that is his name, Jeffrey's table with his attorney sitting next to him, and on the sly hands him a Percocet. So J Ray, a Percocet. The street term is perk. It's a what is it? It's
I mean,
it's a narcotic.
it is
Okay,
a considered a what is the thing?
is it
We
an upper or downer? I can't remember.
it's definitely a downer.
Okay,
And I don't understand. I
it's
don't
wild.
understand.
So guys, listen, and by the time you hear this, the full story will be out. But the gentleman, of course, was stopped. I mean, immediately they were like right behind him. The deputies were right behind him when he did it. And the worst part, everybody, is all of this was caught on film. So you see it in full speed as it's happening. He hands it to him in like a hand slap, a handshake. Jeffrey takes it. The deputies grab the guy. They immediately take it back from Jeffrey. The guy is patted down. He tries to ingest the rest of the contraband that he had on him. Folks, he was in a Fulton County courthouse with contraband. Now, for those people that live outside of Georgia, the Fulton County courthouse is, after 2005, is like Fort Knox. It's one of the the security there is super tight. And the reason why it's super tight is because of a young man by the name of, why is his name just escaped me? You know who I'm talking about, J Ray. The
Do I?
gentleman, the fugitive that escaped and shot the judge in the courthouse.
Oh, I don't
And
know. Was this pre me? This might have been pre me.
this was like back in 2005.
Yeah.
Oh, Brian Nichols. Brian Nichols got loose. He was in court. He got loose. She shot a judge. He shot up a lot of people in the courthouse. It was a very infamous time in Atlanta history. In Atlanta history, he was on the run. He was being hidden by some white woman up in Buckhead. We all have some theories about what was happening there. But anyway, so back to this young man and his contraband in this highly secured courthouse. Thought that he could just pass off a perk to young Jeffrey in front of everybody. This is getting wilder by the minute.
I don't have nothing. I don't the only thing that I can surmise from all of this is that we've gotten to the point where there's just no, this is not, it's not logical thought, right? It's just like this, it's acting off of instinct and off of feeling and not like really thinking through all of what could, you're in a courtroom, this is a high profile case, there's cameras everywhere. What makes you think that this could happen without you
And
getting caught? It's a small, and to see the video, y'all, you look at it like it's not that much room. Like you can see everything.
you can see everything, but the only thing that I could think of, J. Ray, is the power of addiction. The
Mm.
power of addiction might make you do something crazy, like
Mm-hmm.
attempt something like that in a very close
Mm-hmm.
quarters, high profile situation like that. So, good luck to all. Good luck to everybody involved. Sorry to that man. I don't know what's, because they already wrote up the charges. They're trying to charge Young Thug and the other guy. So on top, it's like on top of what you already
Piling
have going
on
on,
top.
they're piling it all on. Yeah. But RIP to David Crosby of Crosby, Stills and
Stills and Nash.
Nash.
Mm-hmm.
Passed away at the age of 81, a
Mm-hmm.
part of American folk music fabric.
Yep. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
much love to his family.
Absolutely. And that yeah, so back when I was in high school, coming into college, like I was a big fan of like 60s rock. So
Mm,
definitely familiar and a fan of Crosby, Stills and Nash, and Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, and all of that. Those names carry such weight in folk, but also in rock and roll, in particular in the 1960s and 70s. So rest in peace to Mr. Crosby, and definitely sending love out to his family.
absolutely. And wow. We so earlier this week we were talking about
We're transitioning now.
we're tra- we're transitioning, guys, if you haven't figured that out. But we are okay, so I just want to make sure of something. But earlier this week we recorded however comma for
Hmm.
our insiders.
Hmm.
And on the topic of, in the midst of recording however comma, we brought up the very strange case of Keith Murray and the Loose Lips.
Hmm.
Um as well as other people who are an Irv Gotti,
Hmm.
people who were just divulging a whole bunch of secrets from years ago about encounters that they may or may not have had, because a lot of that stuff appears to be fabricated, with fellow pop stars, R&B
Hmm.
stars, hip hoppers, whatever. So we thought, okay, it's only going to be the rap cats that's doing this, because some of them are corny in real
Right.
life and unfortunately are being used by a lot of these platforms for their stories and their secrets, and a lot of the ways that they get them to tell all these stories is they keep them intoxicated and high.
Yes.
That's not always the case, because even some of the seasoned vets, and I'm talking seasoned, like
Bro,
your granny was throwing panties at this man at the top of his superpowers, but Smokey Robinson was running his mouth about his encounters with Diana Ross. It's like, sir,
sir,
oh, blue eyes, come on.
that was so weird to me. Like that was so weird. Of like, Mr. Robinson, you are such a legend and such an important part of our music history. You have no reason to tell this story.
None
Put it in the
whatsoever.
book. Put it in the book.
This makes me think of, now, to be fair to Mr. Robinson, remember a couple years ago, Quincy Jones got caught up in kind of the same situation
Okay, I
where he
liked
was
all of
just
that. I liked all of what I liked all of it. I got
Listen,
all
I
that
know you
tea.
got I know you got your life about that, but it's the same thing. we gotta be fair. It's the same
We
thing. It's
gotta
like
be fair. Dang.
Papa, what are you doing? You know, two people you don't tell stuff that you don't want to get out. Older people as well as children, because they will
Right.
both tell your business. And Quincy did the same thing, but apparently it's not just the fellas.
Nope.
The women are
Keely
getting in
from
on it too.
3LW done got on with the Carlos King and is talking about we are not interested in anything B2K or 3LW. Like it's just not something we care about. But I guess we do because Carlos asked the question, and I would be thinking like no one cares about this, but I guess people do care.
I don't know. I just want to tell Keely that's not the flex you think it is. Like, it's really not.
And
I mean, maybe in 2003 that would have been spicy, but now it's like,
here's the
okay.
thing, Sir Daniel. It was apparently, according to Keely, allegedly, this is what Keely said. J Ray's not saying it. Keely said it was everybody but Omarion.
Yeah, I mean,
It was the other three.
well, I hate to quote BBD on this, but me and the crew used to do her just popped in my head when. But here's the thing: we are not judging Keely because I don't judge anybody's body count.
No.
I don't judge people's private part mileage. That's
Mm-mm.
between you and your partners. You know, some people have whole phases. Some people's whole phases last their whole life, and that's
You
fine.
like it, I
That's
love
quite
it.
all right. But that one, I don't know. I might have to side eye that one just because of who it was. But you know, shout out to her securing her another season of that show that Carlos did with her and the other girls. Hopefully she'll get another season of that. And, you know, shout out to her for making that happen. But just to go back really quickly on something I said. So Smokey Robinson was on one of those platforms that I was speaking of earlier, right? And I was very, very disheartened I see a trend. I see a trend of a lot of these platforms being run by people who don't look like us and who don't come from the culture. And so I think I mentioned this on However Comma, but I really want us, you, the ones that are listening right now, to start putting pressure on these non-members of the community, people who don't come from the culture, to stop poaching these interviews of these legends and using it for evil. Like, stop plying them with alcohol and drugs to get them to tell all these dirty secrets. It's just not, I hate it. I hate to see it happening to us, but it's happening at an all-time rate right now.
Yep, absolutely agree. And if you want to check out our full conversation about this, but definitely check out However Comma. But we wanted to talk about a couple of more things before we get into Paula, because we know y'all came for some Paula chat.
Y'all
We
are
got
here
plenty.
for Paula chat.
Y'all here for Paula chat. We wanted to talk about the fact It's in Love. The Songwriters Hall of Fame inductees came out. Our sister Sade Adu is who just had a birthday, is being inducted. Of course, Sade, the infamous lead of the band Sade, it's named after her. That's how dope she is, right? She has a whole band in her name. Teddy Riley, who we're going to be talking about a lot all year, because this is our 1988 series year. Snoop Dogg, Gloria Estefan, you know, so shout out to all of them. Amazing. These four folks, as well as the other inductees, have written songs that are timeless, that we will always be singing and rapping, and they deserve to be in the Songwriters Hall of Fame.
I concur. Just had the list is A1.
Mhm.
There's not much else to say about it. And thank you to everybody that responded to our post and, was responding with your favorite songs by Teddy Riley,
Mhm.
and just, just going along with it and just having fun, and it bringing up all those memories of all the songs that Teddy Riley was a part of. I want to shout out my sister Peppermint Gaddy is in the building.
What's up,
She's
Peppermint
in the
Gaddy?
building. And also, I see Carlton mentioned that story about Jaguar Wright. Yes, Carlton, we did speak on the whole Jaguar Wright situation. Again, that's in however comma.
Mhm.
Please go and check that out.
Mhm.
Just wild and weird. That's all I could call it. It's WW, wild and
Right.
weird.
One quick thing before we jump into our conversation. So, a fun thing that I did this week, Sir Daniel, is I started testing Chat GPT. First and foremost, have you heard of this?
The only reason I've heard of it is because of you.
Okay.
So I'm like, what is this Chat GPT? Is this a new car? What is the Chat GPT you
Right.
speak of?
So, it's been really interesting. So, of course, we're in the AI. We're now in the rollout of AI platforms. We've seen
Mm-hmm.
it in the form of Lenza, where we did a show about that too on however
We
comma
did.
that we not putting our faces in that AI thing. So check that out. That's there too. But Chat GPT is a smart AI system that you can talk to. So it's conversational. So I can ask the Chat GPT a question and it will respond, and I can continue the flow of that conversation and it will follow me. So it is very interesting. What I love about it, I finally understand how to use AI, y'all. So here's how I finally
Hmm.
get it, how I can use it, because it's not going nowhere. Let's keep it a buck. These platforms are only going to become more a part of our lives. They're not going anywhere. They're present. There are so many for sale. The way I have figured out how to use it is research. So I was able to find out some very interesting information for like one of the future shows that we talked about, Sir Daniel. Our show that we're talking about next week with animation. Chat GPT has helped to spark some good research. So that's one way. And as a creative, the visual AI platforms are helping me to be able to figure out new ways to think about photography. So
Hmm.
it's like inspiring. Like, oh, that's really interesting. That's an interesting composition. I like that. How can I use that in my creative process? So that's the way I'm using AI stuff, y'all. I am using it for research and inspiration. That's my tip.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to keep a close eye on this, making sure that this is really the real J Ray.
Right.
Don't worry,
If it
and not
starts screwing.
and not artificial intelligence that's trying to be my co-host right now. No, but seriously, I'm glad that you see. That's the important part. If you can, I guess you can find an intentional way to use AI for good.
Mhm.
By all means, let's do that. And if anybody's going to use it for good, it's definitely going to be J Ray,
Yes.
because he gets busy as the producer of Q Points and however comma and everything that we do over here. And J Ray, it's time.
It's
You got to
time.
remember. So I'm let y'all know this whole week. Well, it's been actually been a couple weeks now that we've been talking about this particular topic, and every time we start start speaking of Paula Abdul, either J Ray or myself will go into our very poor imitations of Paula
I'm
Abdul's
forever your
singing
girl.
You better remember. And so listen, and
Let's get it
we've
out
been
the way.
chuckling.
Let's get it out the way, Sir Daniel. Let's get it out the way.
We've just been chuckling to ourselves. But in all honesty, the more we dug and the more we peel back the layers of Paula Abdul's excellence in pop culture, there was no way we couldn't speak on Paula Abdul, and speak about her in in kindness and
Yes.
thoughtfulness, and having a good time discussing what her impact has been on this industry.
Mhm.
And again, this is part of our 1988 series for this year. So Paula Abdul really took off in 88, but we got to talk about who is Paula Abdul. Paula Abdul is a Bay Area girl.
Mhm.
She's a California girl. Paula Julie Abdul,
Right.
and from the beginning, of course, took a shine to dancing and
Mhm.
entertaining, and so such to the point that she took part in a cult classic called Junior High School Film. And for those of you who have seen you, I'm sure you've seen the clip. Junior High School Film basically predates Glee,
Mhm.
and what's the other movie?
High School High.
High School.
Well, it's not High
Is it
School
High
High. It
School High?
was High School Musical.
High School Musical.
Mhm.
And so there's nothing new under the sun, guys.
Right.
Paula Abdul was there doing this kind of thing, and she was doing what she does, singing and dancing. And I guess that put her on a trajectory to showbiz and fame.
Mhm.
And she became an LA Laker girl. And
Yep.
J Ray, what we're talking about the early 80s.
Yeah.
What does it do you remember what it meant to be a LA Laker girl?
Um yes. So in fact, that was a huge deal. So she, of course, became an LA Laker girl really young. So it was 18.
Right out of high school, yeah.
Right out of high school. So she became an LA Laker girl and eventually rose, of course, to become the choreographer for the LA Lakers, for the Laker girls. So they had a name. So they were the Laker girls, they were the cheerleaders for the LA Lakers. And at that time, they were the only cheerleaders for basketball that I was aware of. I'm sure there were others. I did not know of any of the names of the other cheerleading teams. The Laker girls were a total thing. They
Mm-hmm.
were a brand unto themselves. And at that time, in the early to mid 80s, they were the only ones I knew about.
Well, okay, so let's not forget the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders.
Mhm.
That was football. But to your point, as far as the art and
Mhm.
the practice of cheerleading,
Yeah.
you had the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders who had movies made about
Oh,
them
that's right. Yep. You're right.
and documentaries, and then of course you had the LA Lakers when it came to basketball.
Mhm.
And so LA Laker games in California, of course, were a magnet for all kinds of superstars, actors, musicians. So it was bound to happen. If Paula is choreographing the routines for the Laker girls, then
Right.
of course she was going to catch the eye of some producers, somebody in Hollywood, right?
And she
Well,
did.
who well, I think, and who did she catch the eye of? None other than the
Then
Jacksons,
then the
Joe Jackson, right?
Jacksons. Yeah, it was the Jacksons. I think you know what? It's never been specific about if it was like which Jacksons. It was the Jacksons
Mm.
specifically. But so the Jacksons caught wind of one of the routines, and Carlton mentioned this in the chat as well. She was invited to or hired to choreograph the Jacksons infamous 1980s. It's the most 80s video you'll ever see. There's like a spider web. There's a lot going on in torture, but it's
There's a lot of claws clawing at the
claws and things.
cameras.
It's torture.
Torture.
Right. So
I'm
she got
sorry, guys. We just can't. We
we
can't
having
help
a
it.
good
I'm
time with
sorry.
it. She
Yes.
was invited or hired to do that video, and of course that gig ultimately led to us really getting to know her as the choreographer for Janet Jackson's breakout era, which was the Control era.
So the first time I was cognizant of Paula was in the Nasty
Nasty
Boys
video
video.
in the
Because
theater.
in the theater, and no, I take that back. In the diner scene, and what has he done for you lately? That's when I first first caught sight of her. But she definitely, you could tell that the control era was Paula's era.
Mm-hmm.
Paula definitely put her stamp on the choreography. It was classical. It
Mm-hmm.
was it paid homage to old Hollywood at
Yep.
times. And that's very important to Paula Abdul, and you'll see that later. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in this discussion. But I think what Paula Abdul did for Janet Jackson's career I don't think has been replicated. However, I think Paula Abdul did create a lane for superstar choreographers. Now, prior to her was Debbie Allen, of course. Debbie
Mm-hmm.
Allen is the GOAT.
Yes.
When it comes to stage,
Yep.
television, all Debbie Allen is definitely the GOAT. No
Mm-hmm.
shade. So, but we have this you see that a record label is investing their time in an artist to work specifically with their artist, Paula Abdul.
Mm-hmm.
And so Paula, of course, creates that lane. She goes on to choreograph for other people. But when you're paired with a specific choreographer, you begin to get a stamp, a look.
Yeah.
I noticed that with the way Fatima Robinson would choreograph for
For
Aaliyah,
Aaliyah. Yep.
and when she would choreograph for Mary,
Yep.
it had a stamp to it. So I think we definitely saw that Paula was part of creating that lane for choreographers, and that's why choreographers to this day can command what they command from record labels, from an artist, to help give you a look. To this day, look, Lorianne Gibson has such a wonderful relationship with Diddy
Mm-hmm.
that she works with all of his artists.
Absolutely.
Was able to gain fame on the Making the Band series
Yep.
as a celebrity choreographer. So, and we have to tip our hat to Paula Abdul for that.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no other way around it. And I think Mark said something really important in the chat as well, is that Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis gave Janet her sound, her signature sound, while Paula gave Janet those signature moves, right? And it was very much, to your point, at a time it was very technical, it was very
Yes.
classic. All of these things appealed really well to Janet, but it also gave her something distinct that separated her from all the other women who were doing stuff in that era. And that's what made, one of the things that made her stand out was the fact that she had tight, the sound was tight, the choreography was tight, and it was Paula being able to provide that. I think the other thing too is, and what we learn as we start to get into the record in a bit, but what we learn is Paula understood performing. She
Mm-hmm.
understood, she herself was like, no, 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 I know how to get you up on stage so that you could sing and dance and do all of the things. Like, she was able to use all of that knowledge and give that to Janet. And I think that was really unique. Yeah, Carlton mentioned that point of, what's interesting, Carlton. Carlton mentioned Michael Peters,
Michael Peters, yeah.
Thriller, Beat It, Pat Benatar, Love is a Battlefield, Lionel Richie, Hello, Running with the Night. I think the other point is, when I was in 1986, I started to pay attention to choreographers because of Paula Abdul.
Mm-hmm.
Because I knew who Paula was and the work that was happening with the Janet stuff, I then recognized, oh, Michael Peters. I then recognized Debbie Allen's choreography. I was able to look at like Sylvester's videos and stuff like that and see these signatures. But it was Paula that was the light bulb.
Yes.
So that moment for that was real, for Janet was really important, but it also further pushed Paula's career. So we get to the point now in the late 1980s where Paula is choreographing for other folks. She is now choreographing for film. So Paula did the signature choreography for Coming to America. Like, this dance sequence in Coming to America, sick.
So, like, Ridiculous. Okay, so let's talk that moment. Let's talk about that lightning in a bottle moment
Mm-hmm.
of Paula Abdul working on Coming to America, because not only was that scene iconic,
Mm-hmm.
so iconic that people are still recreating it. Busta Rhymes recreated it in "Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Can See" for his video,
Mm-hmm.
and when we talk about Coming to America, they try to emulate that scene,
Mm-hmm.
the grandioseness of that movement, that piece that she choreographed.
Mm-hmm.
But that moment, and this is why it's so important to be excellent for all of our artists out there that are watching,
Mm-hmm.
to be excellent in what you do at all times, to be impeccable with it. At that time, who is the co-lead on Coming to America? Mr. Arsenio
Arsenio
Hall,
Hall. Yep.
who prior to Coming to America, or who got the studio deal because of his late night work and
Yep.
filling in for Joan Rivers on ABC,
Mm-hmm.
received a deal from the network to get a network talk show,
Mm-hmm.
as well as a production deal for movies.
Yep.
Arsenio Hall. So Arsenio and Paula Abdul, I'm certain, meet each other on the set
Mm-hmm.
and strike up a relationship. And then next thing you know, Arsenio is catapulted into nighttime history, talk
Mm-hmm.
show history, by having be one of the first black men, aside from Byron.
Byron
I can't
Allen.
remember. Byron Allen, to
Mm-hmm.
have his own talk show at night. And of course, Arsenio Hall rockets to superstardom because he's giving a platform to a lot of black artists.
Yep.
One of those black artists, one of those artists, excuse me,
Artists of color.
artists of color that came on the show. And if y'all remember, they were like sort of romantically linked, or there was a lot of
Yeah.
implying that they were romantically linked, was Paula
Was
Abdul, who
Paula
had
Abdul.
recently signed to Virgin Records
Mm-hmm.
and had two singles
Yep.
that came out that didn't really do much
Yeah.
of anything as far as the popular pop music landscape is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
But when that straight up video hit, featuring Arsenio Hall,
Yep.
it was a dundada.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know what kind of crack was laced on straight up. It
Mm-hmm.
was R&B, it was New Jack Swing.
Mm-hmm.
It was all the things that needed it to be to hit. It hit black radio with such an impact.
Yep.
And of course, it crossed over big time.
Yeah. So I think it's so important. I'm so glad you mentioned that background and history, because I don't think we always remember that it wasn't immediate, right?
No.
So the first two singles happened. First of all, Knocked Out was the first single, and that was produced by LA and Babyface, written by Babyface, LA, and Daryl Simmons, right?
Mm-hmm.
With backgrounds, we need to say it because this leads to a controversy later, right? That song has backgrounds with Pebbles,
Sister Perry Reed,
and what is her name? Yvette Marine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if it's Yvette or Yvette Marine, who was with the Mary Jane Girls, right? So hold on to that, because that becomes really important later in our conversation. Point is, you get that song, hot, little R&B tune.
Yeah, a little bop.
Little bop. It hits the R&B charts. It climbs the R&B charts. It doesn't do a whole lot on the pop charts. The Way That You Love Me does much better on both charts.
Here's a 12-inch.
12-inch for that joint. That's a hot joint. And then Straight Up. So here's the lightning in a bottle moment, right? You have Coming to America that came out, right? You have the ascension of remember Arsenio Hall, he was kind of filling in for Joan Rivers. He didn't quite have the Arsenio Hall show, but his star is rising. So we're talking about Arsenio Hall. And you have Paula Abdul, who now in the MTV era, here was the magic. That black and white video that opens with that tap dance sequence, which was unlike any of the other pop women on the scene at that moment. None of the other women could do that. That
Who's
tap
tap
dance.
dancing?
Who was tap dancing? Paula
Nobody.
Abdul was the
Paula
only.
Abdul was.
What was it? Gregory Hines,
Gregory
Sammy
Hines.
Davis
Yeah.
Jr., Savion Glover, and Paula Abdul.
That's it. And that's it.
So
she definitely.
She distinguished herself.
And that's what you had to do at that time. Now listen. we're not gonna pretend like
we do have
you're getting
it's
we're
not
not gonna pretend like we getting like church vocals here.
we're not getting church vocals, y'all.
We get it, and the thing I really believe Paula gets it too. Paula got it too, but Paula had the right producers for her voice, the right songs, and of course was able to give it a visual in this video era. Because Forever Your Girl, because of Straight Up, Forever Your Girl hits the charts not only across the country, outside of the country.
Right.
So she's becoming a bona fide superstar at this point. She's her own star at this point. And let's talk about that album, Forever Your Girl. So we already talked about Knocked Out. We talked about The Way That You Love Me, and we talked about Straight Up. The title track, and see now, children, gather round. what Uncle J Ray is holding in his hands right now is called a cassette. It's called a cassette. It's a little doohickey that you slide into a tape player, and it has the music on the little tape that's inside. And in that cassette has a cover full of liner notes and sometimes lyrics. And we would spend all our time listening to the songs, playing and pausing, and writing the lyrics so that we could memorize these songs and sing the lyrics and do them in talent shows. But anyway, I digress. So Forever Your Girl, the title track, very cute video. It stars a lot of child actors who are well known now, including what's the young man from Lord of the Rings? That's the main character from Lord of the Rings. He's in that. He's in the video. In that video? Oh yeah, there's a whole bunch of kitty. They were little kids at the time. So what they did, and this is how you know Paula and her team is all about old Hollywood. They took that formula of using kids to lip sync to the grown person's video, very Bugsy Malone, and using the children, Elijah Wood, thank you, Mark, and using them for the video. So that was really cute. That was cute. But Jerry, can we talk about Cold Hearted Snake real quick?
Okay. I feel like we're gonna spend all of our time on Cold Hearted. I do want to say one thing about Forever Your Girl, and I want to envelop this conversation, this part of the conversation too, because I think that what we discover, because Straight Up on Down, those are number one hits. The first two songs don't hit number one. Straight Up on Down goes number one. And I think that's the realization of Paula Abdul as a video star, right? As a music video star. And so they figure out a formula, to your point with that, right? So we go from Straight Up, tap dancing at the beginning. What I love about Forever Your Girl is they do that whole tap dance sequence at the end of that, where it's kind of like her playing around and doing some tap dance stuff. So they bring that forward into the Forever Your Girl video. And now we can talk. This is one. So Cold Hearted is one of my favorite music videos of all time, ladies and gentlemen. It is a brilliant display of 1980s technology, because you got like the computer and the thing that, but it also replicates kind of the dance studio vibe of the time when, to your earlier point, because Paula is so committed to classic modern dancing mixed with contemporary that starts to show up in this video. And this video for me is like the Janet stuff on steroids. Like it's like we're going to give you full Broadway performance in this video. So the song is a bop, but the video takes it to another level.
It is dramatic. It opens with a whole bunch of executives, because at this point Paula Abdul is a Hollywood commodity now. A whole bunch of executives gathered and they're sweating. Okay, well, what is this next single going to be about? What is this video going to be about? You know, back then people were worried about standards and what was it called? Standards and regulations. I think that might have been about what could be shown on television, because MTV is going through what it's going through with regulations and censorship. And here we go, pop princess Paula Abdul is, you know, about to show these executives, hey, this is what we have thoughts on for the new video. Right. So it's a little, you know, it's a little ditty that we put.
This better be good.
And then one of the executives leans over and is like, I hear this is like a homage to Bob Fosse.
Yeah.
And they're like, Bob Fosse? Because if you know anything about Fosse, everything with Bob Fosse is centered around the pelvis, the pelvic area. And that was very risque for the time that Bob Fosse was doing it. So here comes, in the late 80s, Paula Abdul doing an homage to Bob Fosse. So they're already just like trying to figure out, where is this girl going with this project? And then the beat comes in, the choreography, everything is so dramatic, and the choreography is crisp. And then they do this in the breakdown scene with the violinists are in the video playing.
Yes, and they pull the shades because they have to change.
And it's just so, and it gets dark in there, and the executives are sitting at the table. One of the executives is a woman, and she's like pulling on her collar because she's getting a little hot and bothered by the pelvic thrusting and whatnot. It's just pure pop R&B goodness that Paula Abdul gave to us. Because J. Ray, okay, full disclosure here, y'all do not judge me for this. Okay, do not judge me. I used to fight my younger cousin over her trying to sing while Cold Hearted Snake was singing, because this is my house, I'm singing the lead of Cold Hearted Snake. If you want to dance and do a little ditty behind me, that's fine. But what you're not going to do in my house is try to out-sing me while I'm singing along with Paula Abdul's Cold Hearted Snake. I said, do not judge me, y'all. Do not judge me. But yes, that song was everywhere. MTV played it back to back to back.
It solidified everything that we thought about Paula at that moment. It was huge. That song was huge. And one of the things that I love about the video in retrospect is how there were these displays of like queerness in it. Like, I don't know that I had seen that like depicted on screen before, but it's in Cold Hearted. And it's well executed and well directed. So it's just, I am certain that video inspired music video directors, to people who aspired to be that, to become that, and also aspired people who wanted to be dancers to become dancers. And Carlton, let us know in the chat the impact for you as a dancer and choreography of Cold Hearted. I'm curious to know what you have to say about that. But yeah, there was not, and to this day, that video holds up. That you can put it on after this. If you've never seen it, when you finish this show, go and watch Cold Hearted and it will all make sense to you, because it's a great video.
Do yourself a favor and watch that video. It's also a testament. What I like about it is that we know a lot of people know Paula Abdul now for when she was reintroduced into pop culture as an older woman, a woman who had, you know, had some health issues,
Mm-hmm.
maybe, and they probably were expecting her to move like she did. She still gets down.
Yeah.
She still gets down, but I think it's important for y'all to see people at their superpowers,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a generation now, y'all. When a Beyonce video drops, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's in awe at the movement. You know, she killed it. She did this and that. But there's going to be a time when she may not be able to move like that. And so it's so good that we have these capsules of time where we can look back on and look at people at their superpowers and see all the hard work that they put into
Yeah.
the industry, into their craft, and why they're a somebody. Because a lot of people don't know, well, why are they somebody? They don't get it because they're not relevant anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But there are so many reasons, as we've gone through already, as to why Paula Abdul is relevant and is iconic,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, iconic, because she also, we're coming to the end
Mm-hmm.
of the run of Forever Your Girl. The campaign
Mm-hmm.
to sell albums is to release singles and videos that coincide with the singles until, so that you can continue to sell more full-length albums. So, and there comes a point where albums, they stop. They're like, okay, I think we've done all we can. This is going to be the last single
Yeah.
that we're going to release. So to top everything that she did, there comes along this a track called "Opposites
Attract.
Attract,"
Mm-hmm.
which features MC Scat Cat, which we'll talk about the controversy as it pertains to hip hop,
Mm-hmm.
but this is the first animated rap
Right.
character
Yep.
to appear in a music video,
Mm-hmm.
a rap character. And what makes this video even more iconic is that she's paying homage to Gene Kelly
Yep.
and Jerry the Mouse, who performed. It's like one of the very first live action animated screens put together of people dancing together on for a project, for a movie, and in this case, a video. So here again, Paula Abdul has topped herself
Yep.
by dancing with an animated cat.
And not only was she dancing, so and to put that into a capsule too. So the MC Scat Cat character in Opposites Attract is filling in for the Wild Pair, which was the actual men who sang that song with Paula Abdul on the album. So they don't actually appear in the video. They are represented by this Scat Cat, which I don't think it even has a name yet. I don't know that we're calling him MC Scat Cat yet, right?
Word.
But the other cool thing about this is Paula choreographs the cat too.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So this woman is not only, so she's choreographing this cat to dance with her. Right? So that means the animators have to animate the movement. So she's choreographing, here's the movements that this cat needs to do with me in order to make this video happen. So this woman is pioneering again, right? This moment. And it is once again something that let me speak for me. I had never seen anything like that before. This is what is the movie? Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Yep.
Yep. So this is kind of pre those things. I think the closest we'd come to something like this would be like the Muppet movie, like, and what they were doing in that, but those weren't animated, right?
No.
Those were, those were puppets. So Opposites Attract closes out the Forever Your Girl campaign at a high note, because once again, it goes to number one. It sets Paula up to choreograph the Academy Awards. Because that campaign, I think Opposites Attract comes out in 89. She does the 1990 Academy Awards, and some other projects. So she's picking up commercials at that point and doing Hollywood things, things that Hollywood people do. And then we move into the second record, and we'll talk about that for a split second. But that MC Scat Cat thing, I wanted to stay with that for a second, because MC Scat Cat. So the record label is like, oh, Paula, you're really successful. We're going to give you a label now. That's what they did back in the day, right? Like an artist was
Mm-hmm.
really successful. They're going to now give you a label. So there was a label set up. And the first signing was this animated rapper, MC Scat Cat, that had appeared in Paula's video. And so we get the scat strut, which I went back to listen to, and I was like, I don't hate this. And shout out to Derek Delight Stevens, who's the
Mm-hmm.
rapper representing MC Scat Cat at that point. So MC Scat Cat is not singing now; he's rapping, and Paula's in the video, the scat strut video. So this is a first. So now you have an animated rapper, who has its own single, with a superstar in the music video.
And that was not without some controversy,
Not
because
at
I
right.
know, of course, so there's a couple things I want to bring to light. So, do you guys realize that the person that actually wrote the verse for MC Scat Cat in the opposites attract song is Romany Malco, who you all will know as the black guy in
Mm-hmm.
like all the Judd Apatow movies with the bald head. He wrote those verses for MC Scat Cat, and I'm wondering if he wrote the verses on the album.
Mm.
But to J Ray's point, they were willing to give this animated. At that point, we're in the Hammer effect. So Hammer is doing all of these, and this is going to lead into the next episode
Yep.
of Q Points, where we are going to do a show on hip hop and animation,
Mm-hmm.
and this kind of leads into it of how hip hop is now a commodity, and the powers that be want to make hip hop palatable for everybody.
Yep.
And so that means at this point, removing actual MCs that
Right.
look like you and me to be represented in the videos. They would rather have an animated cat
Yep.
rapping these verses. So of course that caused controversy within the hip hop community. It didn't sit well with us, of course. But and I also, the other point, I want to also give the animators props, because Opposites Attract is like J Ray said, it's pre what was the movie,
Who Framed Roger
Roger
Rabbit?
Who Framed Roger Rabbit. It's pre Avatar.
Oh, you know what?
Those
Hold on. Let me pause. That is not pre Who Framed Roger Rabbit, by the way. It came out in 88. I'm wrong. Sorry, y'all. That came out in
Okay,
88 too. So it's right around the same time. So this is a moment
around the
where that's
same.
happening. Yeah.
So listen, so this is before Avatar, the
Yep.
technology that the people have to do movies like Avatar, where they wear the green suits and they have the little balls on the bodies, and
Mm-hmm.
they can trace all of that. Those animators were doing that stuff by
By
hand,
hand.
frame by frame. Do you understand how much work goes into that? That's crazy. And to think Paula Abdul was the reason why I believe those people could get jobs like that, and more
Mm-hmm.
people were using animation, and live action films became a thing. So
Mm-hmm.
listen, again, Paula Abdul being iconic in all her moves.
Yeah. Um, Two things I want to do. I want to bring in I want to bring in Carlton's statement, and then I want to talk really quickly about the second record before we, talk about her leaving and then being reintroduced. But Carlton in the chat said, growing up, I studied her work since torture. Seeing her work was like my dance instructor at home. Learning and studying her work helped me across the board because of the technical aspect of dance, performance, feeling, and style. Remembering my mother was a professional dancer as well, who studied and worked with Catherine Dunham. If you don't know who Catherine Dunham, this is a sidebar. If you don't know who Catherine Dunham is, you need to look her up. That's all I'm gonna say about
Now,
that. It's a thing.
exactly.
So Paula gave me such great feeling and freedom in choreography and dance. There were no limits to her work. That was so important to me in my work as well. She played a great part in my dance career. Shout out to Carlton. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And so by 1991, it's time for the second record. And I want to also give Paula props for this. Forever Your Girl and Spellbound really hold up to time. If you go and
Mm-hmm.
play those records today, yes, they sound of their era, but all of the songs are quite brilliant. So Spellbound is a departure. So you have the family stand, three brilliant black people writing for Paula now, right? And giving her a edgier rock funk oriented sound that's really different from Forever
Mm-hmm.
Your Girl. Um the record opens with a ballad, Rush Rush.
Uh,
Right.
mm,
You get
mm.
this beautiful ballad with a video. I think she had married Emilio Estevez. I can't remember who was the lead in
Keanu
the
Reeves.
Keanu
Keanu
Reeves was the
Reeves.
lead in the video. Old Hollywood once again. And because it was like the woman, he dies in an accident, the whole thing. Um
It was
such a
based on that movie, The
uh
Rebel.
the Rebel Without a Cause, I think you're right. So if you
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's true. And Vibeology, all of these joints. Saying all of this to say, I we know that Spellbound didn't sell as well as Forever Your Girl. One, it's going to be hard to top up a record that huge, but it was no slouch. And once again, yes, Carlton, we had a Prince track, and you had the family stand on writing and production on that, and that was brave because what most artists of her level would want to do is like, I'ma do what I did the last time. She didn't do that. She went in a different direction. And as a piece of artistic work, I think it holds up.
Absolutely. Rush Rush. So I was in what 10th grade at that time. And that was a poignant song. That was a really amazing time in my life because I was uprooted from New York. I was living in Florida at the time, but then we were moving back to New York because our family structure had broken down. It was just me and my mom, and I remember that being one of the songs that followed us from state to state.
Mm.
And it was a calmness to it,
Mm-hmm.
a definite funk to it, and Paula held her own
Mm-hmm.
on that. See, Sandra St. Victor ain't no joke
No.
as a
Vocalist, right?
writer and a
Uh,
vocalist. So for Paula to be able to follow that reference track,
mm-hmm.
Paula's got an air.
Mm-hmm.
Paula is not, Paula is no slouch in the studio. So that song meant a lot to me at that time, and that's why she went out with a bang as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
But to your point, she did all of these great things. She's literally a fixture in Hollywood and in music, and then she kind of goes away.
Yep.
And she goes away for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're talking at least a decade,
Almost,
you
yeah,
know,
about a
there
decade.
about a decade that she disappears. And she goes through health scares,
Mm-hmm.
a plane crash allegedly,
A plane crash happened in there.
somewhere. So, but Paula's still around, and then a whole generation. J. Ray and I, we know who Paula Abdul is.
Right.
We know who the clout is. We know
Yeah.
her steez. We know what she gives. Then along comes this cultural phenomenon called American Idol,
Yep.
and Paula Abdul is a judge on the panel.
Mm-hmm.
And at first there were four judges, and then they dwindled it down to three, or was it only three? They had two hosts. That's what I'm thinking
Okay.
about.
Yes, that's yep.
Ryan Seacrest and
And
the
the
other gentleman.
yep.
And so what we see and what I think we thought was going to happen was there was going to be a backlash against Paula being on a judge's panel for a singing
Sing.
show.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what happened.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Paula used that worked for her.
Yeah.
The
She
fact
was
that these young people didn't know who she was
mm-hmm.
or knew of her
Mm-hmm.
But her people say, oh, she's not that great of a singer, but she's still a very credible and viable judge on that show.
Absolutely. One of the things that she brought to that show, so that show had the balance, right? So you had like the business of like a Simon, you had like the musicality of Randy,
Randy,
and you had the performance and the presence from a Paula, right? Being able to speak to and speak, and speak life into these performers, right? So almost like being able to calm these people down by being like the one that was looking at the total package in a lot of
mm-hmm.
ways. And she brought that to the table, and that reintroduced her to a whole new generation, lined her pockets like you would not believe. And I was on Paula's website this week, and she has launched this new eyewear for women. It has like the speakers and the thing, and she's selling products. Her website is, if you go to paulaabdul.com, it's all products. She's selling you stuff. And I'm like, that's what you do when you kind of get to that era of like, baby, I'm a businesswoman. Like I'm a brand. I'm a brand. And but I do think American Idol was a fitting and proper reintroduction to her. It didn't require her having to be on stage and doing all of those things that would have been hard on her body because of injuries and things from the past. It allowed her to stay within entertainment, still uh uh still be able to like contribute, but not have to like do what she does. She doesn't have to sing, she doesn't have to dance, she doesn't have to choreograph. She just kind of has to contribute her knowledge and her experience. And I think that is the perfect way to leave your mark.
Absolutely. Like I said earlier, that is an iconic career.
Mm-hmm.
If so, Hollywood, they call that a triple threat.
Oh yeah.
The singing, the dancing, the acting.
Mm-hmm.
Paula Abdul was able to do a little bit of all three.
Mm-hmm.
However, it was the dancing and the choreography that really left its mark on the industry and on the culture. So I think that has to be said in her defense.
And to that point, I think there's the argument, another argument that can be made, right? So one of the arguments we already addressed, Paula as the vocalist, right? And what da 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 da. We got that out the way. I think the other argument that can be addressed, in particular for like Q points, right? Which is, we're a podcast, we center Black folks, Black music, Black everything. Paula's our first non-Black woman of color that we've kind of centered in a show, right?
Right.
Here's why that matters: because the work that she was doing, she honored and held close Black culture.
Mm-hmm.
She We're talking Janet Jackson, we're talking Coming to America, we're talking Blackness, right? And being able to channel what all of it into the work that she did. So at every step of the way, Paula showed her respect to Black folks throughout her career. And we we're still reaping benefits from the work that she did. So she deserves her flowers, and we're
She
happy to give them to
absolutely,
her.
absolutely deserves it. And so, as we mentioned earlier, Paula Abdul, I know Jimmy Jam had liked some of our posts earlier this week. Well, Paula Abdul liked one of our posts as well. So I'm hoping at some point she gets to see this and understands that we appreciate everything she's done for the culture, because she's still having an effect 30 years later, on all us Gen Xers. Okay, real quick story. So we were talking about what song was it? Oh, Cold Hearted Snake.
Mm-hmm.
And I was living in St. Petersburg, Florida. And so this is Hammer era. Everybody's about the dance and about this new look. You had mentioned the Wild Pair, the group that had
Mm-hmm.
worked on the from Maserati and who worked
Mhm.
on the opposite track song. There was a store in the malls called the Wild Pair. And I will never forget, I bought my first pair of patent leather, like big buckle on the side, triangle shaped in the front, but
Yep.
round on the back, and had a rubber bottom.
Did it have the
Kind
did it
of
have the metal at the front? I had the joints with the metal at the front.
no,
Okay.
and mine didn't have the metal. Mine had like a combination of leather and this like kind of funky design.
Mhm.
And so I had to buy this spray to make sure that it was suede. I had to buy this spray to make sure that it was waterproof, because this would be like my cool Friday high
Yes.
school outfit. So I remember buying a pair of those shoes, buying a pair of skids. You
Mhm.
feeling old yet? How many of y'all remember skids? Skids were those like plaid pants. They
Mhm.
that a lot of us were wearing because thought we were going to be hammer dancers.
Right.
And it's just amazing how that phrase, the wild pair, unlocked that memory,
Mm.
because we were all about the dance back then.
Yeah.
And we all had some delusion of being a hammer dancer, a 357 dancer, a Paula Abdul dancer at
Yeah.
some point. And those shoes were going to help me do my best running man, because they were smooth on the bottom, and the skids pants were kind of high waterish, or
Mhm.
no, they were like Z Cavaricci's. You know, you kind of cuff them real tight
Yeah.
at the bottom, so that you can have. Oh my, I'm talking too much. I'm talking too much.
You're
But
fine.
yes, we all my Gen Xers. I know you commiserate with me. You're going down memory lane with me about that. The Wild Pair. Think about that store and all the other stores we went to, Chess King, all of those places we went to in the mall at that time. But anyway, this is what Paula Abdul has unlocked for us, unlocked a lot of great memories. And for that alone, she deserves these flowers from Q Points.
Absolutely, y'all. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us. And Yusef, we appreciate you. Yusef in the chat said, "Well done,
Yes.
gents." So we appreciate you so much. We appreciate all of y'all for tuning in, and sharing your memories, sharing your thoughts. And we're going to be doing this a lot this year. So 1988 is the year that we are celebrating in 2023. And so we're going to have a lot of these, what we're calling hashtag 1988 series. So definitely tune in for them. Next week, please come back. We are going to build on. So the MC Scat Cat conversation is going to lead into, we're going to talk about hip hop and animation, right? So this is the era when, to see DJ Sir Daniel's earlier point, where now hip hop is a commodity. So it's like all of a sudden, we got animated rappers and all of that stuff. So we're going to talk about that next week and have a little fun. But please do a couple of things. One of the things that we want to make sure that you do, I'm going to start putting stuff in the chat, is please become a subscriber. If you become a subscriber, Q Points, just become a Max member. But if you just become a Max member, because if you become a Max member, by the way, you get that hot mix from DJ Sir Daniel too. You get some other perks if you become a Max member, but you can become a Plus or a Max member, and you will get However Comma. However Comma is our pop culture show. It's a little more unfiltered. Sir Daniel and I get to have some other conversations over there. So if you visit our TikTok, you'll see some of the conversations. We're going to sprinkle some of those over on TikTok. So become a subscriber. Also, make sure that you visit us on like Apple Podcasts. Please leave us a rating and a review. Also, you could do the same on Podchaser. This really helps us, y'all. No joke. And the very last thing, please hop on over to the store, buy some products, get you something to make you feel good that represents Q Points. All of these things helps us keep going, and keep growing the show. Q Points, we are Q Points LLC now.
Hey,
We're not just a podcast, y'all. We are a black business, a small black business, and your support helps make that all possible. So, thank y'all.
absolutely. We thank each and every single one of you for tuning in this evening. Make sure you share the show and let people know all about it. We had an awesome time getting ready for this show. The rollout was hilarious. That Whitney Houston clip always takes me out.
Can we talk about that clip? Okay, so we want to add some context to that clip. What Whitney was talking about, for those of you who don't know, by the way, is she was talking about, so yes, she did say Paula Abdul ain't ish. What she was referring to was Paula singing on the record and saying that she was singing flat on the record. And if you know Whitney, you know Nippy, she don't play that. She about that vocal. So that's what that clip. So we want to give some grace to Whitney Houston because we're a Whitney Stan podcast. Don't come over at Q Points talking about Nippy. We don't do that over here
at all. I just honestly, I thought it was hilarious.
It's hilarious.
I was like, why not? So yes, there you go. There you have it. J. Ray, what do I always say? Each and every show. In this life, you have the opportunity. You can either pick up the needle or you can let the record play. I am DJ Sir Daniel.
And my name is J. Ray, y'all. Peace.
This has been Q Points, dropping the needle on Black music history. We'll see you next time.
Peace.
Oh, and run that.
I'm going to run it. I'm going to listen. We are not leaving here until we run the end screen, which we